I never would have left her to die. She was my child. She was my everything. I would have given my life for her.
What appears to be a tearful mother mourning the loss of her daughter quickly proves to be something much more sinister.
I'm losing my mind.
Now convicted in the death of her 18-month-old daughter, this same woman compared the little girl to serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer.
My baby. I won't ever get to see again. And I'm burying on Sunday.
Body camera video now shows the moments leading up to the mother's arrest, starting when her daughter was taken to the hospital.
Likely not survivable.
What follows is a homicide investigation that ends with shocking results.
So I saw the WBIW that it's considered a homicide, and I'm freaking out really bad.
The findings at the autopsy were a little shocking.
On November 23, 2022, 33-year-old Cheyenne Hill brought her daughter to Riley Hospital for Children in Indianapolis, Indiana. Her daughter, 18-month-old Elliaunna, or Ellie Plummer, had a broken collarbone, bruises on her face, a swollen head, and a brain bleed. Body camera video shows Indiana first responders arrived to the scene.
Do you want to see pictures?
Okay.
It's bad.
Have they left yet?
Yeah.
Is that
was them going out?
Okay.
The doctor said baby's problem.
All right, we'll let you get to it. I know you got a lot to do.
Yeah,
See you
they
guys.
said it's likely not survivable.
Investigators quickly learned the Department of Children's Services had already received a previous tip that Ellie was being abused. The tip came in 6 days before Ellie was ever seen by doctors.
We had a report made, let me pull the actual date, a few days ago for mom, who is Cheyenne Hill.
Yeah.
Baby is, oh, you got all that, Elliaunna. So it was reported on the 17th that they were staying with Cameron Fleming and his 2 children, and the home belongs to Cameron, and that strong chemical drug-like smells were coming from the apartment, as well as marijuana.
Cameron who?
Fleming.
And where does he live?
It says 7 Maple Ridge, but we checked it out. That's not an apartment. So we got 5 from what we tried. But mom will be able to give us that. And then the child also has a babysitter, Michelle Morrow. And this report was for drug use. And then it also mentioned the child had lightened bruises on her face, and that it was said that she fell out of bed. And then we got a 2-hour today from these people who she's been staying with. They refused to give their name or address to the hotline, but it's Cameron and Kara Fleming. And this one reported that mom had left for work and left the baby in the care of these people, and then the baby was unresponsive. And so they came here. And so now we're here.
And mom's claiming the baby fell out of bed?
That's what she claimed initially. Of course, this child has so many injuries. You can scroll through. That's just what the nurses got today. The baby also has a brain bleed and a broken collarbone. But it looks like those bruises have been there.
What are these looking like to you?
That looks like cigarette burns
That's
to
what
me.
I was getting ready to say.
That's what I thought as well.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see the kid's skeletal survey,
Yeah.
as well as like CT scans and MRIs. Yeah. Yeah. So I barely talked to mom. I just wanted to wait till you guys got here and they got us a room. And then we've got a drug screen, mom and babysitter too. So I just figured we can do it together.
Once inside the hospital, first responders speak to Cheyenne Hill for the first time.
Sorry that we have to come together today like this under these circumstances. My name's Jim Sloan. I'm a detective at the sheriff's department, and I'll just tell you that it's recording. The one thing that I want to tell you that I want you to make sure that you understand is you are not being detained. You are not under arrest. Okay, you're free to leave at any time. Okay, we would appreciate your cooperation to obviously. I'm sure you're wanting to get to Indianapolis, and we would appreciate your cooperation to help us figure out what's going on and give us some details. Are you willing to do that for us?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. First of all, are you Cheyenne?
I'm Cheyenne Hill.
Okay. And is it C-H?
EYENNE.
And your middle initial?
N for Nicole.
N. Okay. And your last name?
Hill. Hill.
And your date of
Maiden
birth?
name's Russell.
Okay. And your date of birth?
3/20/1990.
Hill notes that she lives with a man named Cameron and his 2 children, ages 8 and 10. She also tells investigators a woman named Michelle babysits Ellie.
Can you tell me what happened?
Well, this morning, whenever at 3:40 to 5:20, she was awake and coherent and fine. She went to sleep.
3:20.
3:40 to 5:20.
3:40.
She was awake and coherent. I was asleep. Cameron sat with her so I could sleep. She went back to bed. When she went to bed at 5:20, she cried a little bit and went right back to sleep. I woke up at 8 o'clock. She was still sleeping. She was snoring, so she was, as far as I knew, fine. I went into Cameron's room and hung out with him for a little bit to talk, and then went back in there to wake her up before I went to work to take her down to the babysitter, and she wouldn't wake up. I thought maybe she was just too tired. I asked him if I could leave her with him for as long as if he needed to call me to do that so I could go to work. I went to work for an hour, and he said that he thinks that she needs to go to the hospital. So I came to got her and took her to the hospital. Michelle brought me my babysitter.
Now, when you, from the time you left her and went to work until you had returned and brought her here, had you noticed anything physically different?
No.
Nothing visibly?
No, whenever I left, she still had some bruising and stuff from last night. That was new. Michelle knew, she said nothing happened, so she just had some slight bruising on her face.
Who's Michelle?
My babysitter. Whenever I picked her up, I was like, oh, she has some more bruises, and then, I think about it like she's a baby, and she bruises easily, which she might have lupus, so we're not sure if it's because of that she's bruising easily. Nothing had been different. She originally had a knot on her head because she fell. She rolled off the bed about a week and a half ago.
And
I'm
where
not
was
sure
that
if she
at?
had anything else. It was at Cameron's house. It was in my bed. She just rolled off and onto the floor. Our floor is wooden, but that's all that happened, and she had a lump. So the lump had went down. Brett had seen it. It was just a little lump.
Right,
And
and
So
the lump was here in between her eyes?
Mhm.
Okay.
And I had iced it last night because it looked like it was a little bit bigger, so I iced it to try to get the swelling down.
Okay.
And then
Did she,
Cameron iced
hang
it
on
last
just a minute.
night too.
Just when this up here occurred, was there any other problems with her as far as mobility
No,
wise?
she was fine.
Does she
walked
crawl
fine.
or
She
walk?
walks.
She does walk. And playing and moving her arms and stuff like that was all good?
Yeah.
Okay, continue on.
And then last night was fine too. She was walking fine. I gave her a bath before bed too. And she was playing in the bathtub fine. But whenever she went back to sleep at 5:20, and then whenever I woke up, and then she was snoring, which she snores. I didn't think anything was wrong with her. I didn't think anything was wrong with her.
What?
Anyway. So, I thought maybe she was just too tired. I didn't know that she was having a brain bleed. How was I supposed to know she was having a fucking brain bleed?
Hill describes Ellie's sleeping patterns, saying when she checked on the girl, she seemed all right. But Hill also says she discussed Ellie's health with Cameron, and together they decided she didn't need to go to the hospital.
I'm sorry. Cameron tells you that she looks pale. Mm-hmm. You tried to wake her up. She just grunted.
Made little noises like she didn't want to be bothered.
Okay, and then what did you say or do?
Continued to try to wake her up.
And then
she
what? She wouldn't wake up.
Wake up.
Okay, and then what did you do?
I checked her eyes. They didn't dilate, but they seemed normal. Like they were normal.
What do you mean you checked her eyes?
To see if they dilated, to see if
Demonstrate for me how you checked her eyes. Okay, so you opened her eyelids.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
She was coherent.
Okay, gotcha.
But she didn't do anything, just grunted at me. I thought maybe she was just dead asleep, like a normal.
Okay.
God.
And then what?
But she had started the posturing then apparently, because I noticed that she had been doing this with her hands and her feet. I asked him to see if he would keep her, and I texted Michelle to let her know that I wasn't bringing her down because she didn't feel good, but I might have to have her take me to the hospital with her. I left at about 9:30 to go to work. I walked. Someone saw me and picked me up and drove me the rest of the way. I was at work until 10:57 whenever Kara came and got me.
What time was that? You were at work until?
10:57. I started at 10. And I was texting him the whole time trying to see if I needed to come home and take her to the hospital.
Eventually, Hill says she realized things were really off with Ellie, and that's when she decided to take her to the ER.
I went and took Ellie down to I noticed that she was not, she was not moving well at all. So I picked her up, and when I did, I put her clothes and her coat on her, and her blankie, and I grabbed her bag and I took her down. And when we got here, I noticed that she was kind of cold and did all this stuff here.
Why didn't anybody just call 911 for an ambulance?
I don't know. Just got my daughter and took her in.
Okay.
It's faster that way, I think. I don't know. I don't think about it like that. Just picked up my daughter and brought her to the hospital. Absolutely. The whole time she was fine until she wasn't. She showed no signs of brain bleeding or anything like that. She was walking. She can't talk, but she was fine.
At this point, first responders discussed the child abuse tip.
So on 11/17 at 1:38 p.m., a report was made to the hotline alleging mom had neglected her daughter. And in that report, it was alleging, and she's already well aware of this because I had to meet with her on Monday, alleging suspicious smells coming from the nearby apartment home, that it is unknown which apartment the smells come from, but that mom visits the other apartments near her quite often with Ellie in her care.
Cheyenne Hill, Elliaunna Plummer's mom.
Okay. When I had Mom take her out of the car seat, out of the car, Michelle's car, Michelle was in the driver's, she was acting fine.
Yes.
She was alert, she was awake, she was moving. And one thing I do know about her is she's never really been verbal. I'd have to get clarification from Mom about like if there's like a speech delay or what that looks like. So, I mean, she was moving, there was no weird mannerisms or anything like that. Mom had brought to my attention, because I asked her first what she thought we got a report on the phone, like when she was agreeing to meet with me, and she thought we got a report because the child had a knot, is what she said, on that forehead from falling out of the bed, so she said that story. When I went and saw her, I didn't see a knot or anything raised in the middle of the head, not even, really a mark on her head.
Pardon me.
Sorry, dear.
So then, it was a pretty quick meeting. Mom did drug tests. She has only admitted to the marijuana use, and we're still waiting for those results back. She had put her back in her car. The last thing I had seen from her was her strapped in, rear facing, and then waving to Mom, and then starting to cry because she didn't want her mom to go work and stuff. So.
That's where that recording ends, but we see Hill again, this time in an investigator's office.
The pathology report it's the medical personnel's. If it takes more than just a Band-Aid, I'm not very, I don't have any business making any calls on that. So until that path is back, and she told me at autopsy that it could be up to 3 months, which was November, December, January, February. So
It should be so.
well, today's the 7th, and that was the 23rd, so hopefully within the next few weeks.
I want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this body camera video. I think it's pretty clear from the body cams that Law&Crime covers that the world isn't always the safest place, and when you're hurt, it can be confusing and you don't really know where to turn. Well, Morgan & Morgan is actually the largest injury law firm in America. Morgan & Morgan has completely modernized the personal injury claim process. You can submit a claim and find out if you have a case, all from your phone. So you can start a claim in 8 clicks or less without having to even leave your couch. Start your claim at forthepeople.com/LCBodyCam. At this point, Hill speculates what happened to her daughter.
So I had mentioned something because I had asked you about how Kara had mentioned to me that it looked like someone had done that to her face. And I had asked you about if you could get the, I didn't say fingerprints, I think you had misunderstood me. I was wondering if you could get an accurate size of a hand.
Well, it doesn't matter if I misunderstood you or not, because the answer to your question is, in regards to fingerprints.
Fingerprints, like, I know that there was marks on her face, and the markings means that the bruising. I meant by markings and bruising, could you tell what size the person's hand was?
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain, so that you have a full understanding of it. The possibility of it occurring is that to get fingerprints is a possibility. What you're referring to is you're saying finger marks.
Okay.
It's the same difference. It's just like if you push up on a window.
Print's gonna be there.
Well, not necessarily. And the reason is because you might be able to see if you push up and your fingers slide, then it has slid the prints. So all you have is finger marks. If you touch the window and lift off of it, then there's a good chance that you might have fingerprints. In regards to the size of the hand, there is a possibility of that as well. There are variable factors that's going to come into play in that. If you got somebody with a big fat head like me as opposed to, a 20-month-old. A smaller hand's going to fit better over a 20-month-old as opposed to, a full-size overweight man.
That's why I'm trying to figure it out, because I know that whenever she pointed out that someone would have grabbed her face like this or held her mouth closed, to me that sounds like someone whose hand, I saw the marks on her face.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's hand had to have been small enough to have been like this on her face.
Or,
My hand would have been like this.
but there's...
So whose hand would have been small enough?
Well, that's what I'm saying, Cheyenne, is that there are, the one thing that I said in there was that there are variables that's going to play into those markings. And that is, if you have, first of all, you are assuming that mark was, that hand is placed in this manner.
In this next clip, Hill mentions someone named Carrie, who she says is Cameron's estranged wife. She also mentions Kevin and Michelle, who lived in the same building that she and Cameron did. Throughout all this, investigators tell Hill not to jump to conclusions.
At least that's what Cameron had mentioned, was that you guys were leery because I locked the door to the bathroom whenever I cut Ellie's hair. Ellie's hair was falling out from what I thought was lupus.
See, here you go again. Here you go again. At no point in time did I ever say or give any indication, nor did anybody else, that why would I care if you locked the bathroom door? As far as I knew, you were going to the bathroom.
Because that's what Cameron said.
Well, are you seeing a pattern here that I'm telling you about? I know Mom's picking up on it. And that is that you have a tendency to engage in this he said, she said, they said, this is what I heard deal. And, Cameron may be on the up and up, and he may have honestly interpreted that I was, questioning as to why the bathroom door was locked. But
we also know that Cameron has problems remembering anything because of his parasite effect. And Cameron's really sick.
I know.
And he might just have trouble putting stuff together, because he really does.
Well, he didn't remember that the one guinea
The
pig had
July.
died, right?
It's not a guinea pig,
Right?
it's a ferret.
Well, he
Is that right?
about Cheyenne and Ellie the other day.
Okay, so
He thought they still lived across the hall.
so if that's the case, if he can forget, I mean, we all know how much he's passionate about his guinea pigs, right?
I love
No. There you go off on a, okay. Am I correct, yes or no, that Cameron,
Forgot about Polly dying, yes.
and he's
And
passionate
he
about
forgot
that,
about
and
Ellie's dying the other day.
and he's passionate about it, right? Is there any possibility that Cameron may be the person that injured Ellie and forgot about it? I mean, you were smoking quite a bit of pot, and he was.
Yeah, but pot doesn't make you forget things like that.
Well, Cheyenne, I wasn't born yesterday, and I know what was going on.
I was smoking weed. I've never smoked anything.
And what did you just say there? What did you
There's
just...
no way that he did that.
I'm not saying
There's no way that he hurt Ellie. I would have known.
How would you have known?
Because
Would it have been the same way you know whether Kevin and Michelle hurt Ellie?
Because Kevin and Michelle, whenever she'd come back, she would have a bruise bigger from there. That's why it had to have been Kevin and Michelle, because the time frame that they said that it happened.
That's who you want. That's who you want to believe.
No,
is
actually,
Kevin
I
and
want to
Michelle.
believe whoever will go to jail, even if it was Cameron.
Then you need to, and I'm not attempting to upset you. I'm not attempting to upset you, and I know I am, but I'm just being I'm just being candor and frank with you.
Investigators say they're still working to determine what exactly happened to Ellie, as Hill doubles down, saying the girl fell off her bed.
You know, I shouldn't say I, have done a lot of homework in this. And we continue to work on it. And hopefully, within a reasonable amount of time, we'll be able to come to some sort of conclusion. But even to your own accord, there were other aspects of Ellie's health that should have been addressed before, for the lack of a better term or me not knowing what to call it, a lethal blow, if you will. I mean, there was weeks prior to her death that she had an obvious head injury.
No, it wasn't weeks.
What?
It had only been a week. As far as I know, it had only been a week. She fell off the bed is what I thought happened to her. I didn't know there were weeks of head injuries.
So
The
the
lump on her head, the hematoma, is what Cameron called it, was a hematoma. Because it was what would be considered a subdural hematoma, because he told me that's what it's called as a nurse.
Hill then gets defensive about not taking Ellie to the hospital sooner.
Whenever I didn't take her to the hospital is because he told me that she would be fine as long as I stood and took care of it. And I started to take care of it, get all the icing and everything started to go down. And then she goes back to Kevin and Michelle's on Monday night. She's got a bigger...
They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I told them to ice it.
I know.
but this
I don't want to talk about it.
This took place. She had bruising, and this head injury, a head injury. Oh,
I thought a week.
a week and a half. Yeah.
It would have been about a week and a half when you took her in.
But where did you take her to?
No, I took her to the hospital. I didn't take her until
What
after.
hospital did you take her to?
I didn't take her until after the, I took her at the hospital whenever you and I saw each other.
That's
when
correct.
See, I kept thinking maybe she's hurt herself in some other way because she's a baby, she gets her head all stuff, but I never thought that someone was beating on my child. If I would have thought someone was beating on my child, I'd killed them. Because that's my
It's the only baby she could ever have.
baby.
From here, Hill only gets more upset.
Don't get it. You don't get it because she was my daughter. She slept like that. She slept like the dead. And it sucks because I didn't know. And I will always feel that pain that I didn't know to take her to the hospital. That was my baby and I never would have put her in that position. I never would have left her to die. She was my child. She was my everything. I would have given my life for her. And you have no idea how badly that hurts me that I didn't take her in. That I didn't know to take her in. I went to work for an hour of my time and I feel terrible for that so much so that I can't even go back to work. You don't know what it's like. Don't act like you do because I didn't forget about her. I spent the entire time trying to figure out whether or not she'd wake up. I asked people at work whether or not it was normal for babies to do that. That's what I did. I asked them at work. You can ask them. Asked Evelyn. I asked her, I said, is it normal for a baby to sleep like that? Because I thought she hit that stage of REM sleep. That's what I thought. But no, I was wrong for going to work to provide for my family, right? I've done nothing but try to take care of her. I will live with her the rest of my life. Whether or not I failed her, as you said. But I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't do it because I wanted my daughter to die. I would give anything to have her back, and I won't get her back. I spend every day crying. I have PTSD so severe that I and I don't know what to do. Counseling's supposed to help, and I'm not going to counseling because I don't think it will. I'm losing my mind. He was my one and only. I had a C-section in my tube side. Ellie was it. Because the doctors weren't going to allow her to have anymore. They told her that they wanted her to abort Ellie, and she didn't do it. Because it was the only baby she could ever have. And she risked her life having her. Only for her to die. It makes no sense to me. But if you say that you may never have answers, you can't do that. You can't never have answers, not for me, for Ellie. You can't. You cannot never have answers. That's not fair. Because I can't move forward without her and without knowing what they did to my daughter. Anyone, they, human, person, whoever up and killed my daughter. I want to know who did it. I want to know why. I want to know why someone would hurt her. I don't understand why someone would hurt her. I don't get why a baby, you know, her birthday was next month. Her birthday would be the 25th, 5 days after mine. Her birthday, for her second birthday, I can't even celebrate her second birthday. I won't ever get to see my baby get married. I won't ever get to see her go to kindergarten. I didn't get Christmas with her. I cried all Christmas. I don't know how I am supposed to move forward without knowing what happened to her.
In another recording, Hill is calmer, agreeing to participate in a polygraph test.
I have two questions for you.
Okay.
The first question I have for you is, I would like to know if you watch any type of TV and like investigative shows and so on and so forth, but it also is true that when you investigate a homicide, the course of action that takes place is, who are the first people that you have to clear?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the answer to that?
No.
The answer to that is the person or persons that are closest to the victim.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? And that's obviously going to be you.
Yeah.
We have to clear you. Okay? And one of the easiest ways to do that is, I would like to know if you will take a polygraph.
Yeah, absolutely.
During this same conversation, Hill says she's certain her neighbors murdered Ellie.
I'm sorry, I 100% know that that's what happened to my kid, and I'm so very angry. Because I keep thinking about the fact that they were meeting me outside and they weren't. I hadn't hung out with Kevin. I didn't know. I didn't even think anything weird could have been going on. But now,
let me back up and say,
sorry.
You had said you were 100% know that that's what happened.
That they had to have murdered my daughter. I
Okay.
know that they had to have murdered my daughter. I don't know how I didn't realize. I hate myself so much because I went to work. It's literally, it's like a freaking nightmare, and I have every night that I should have done something more. But there wasn't anything I could have done because she was already brain dead because they beat on my baby.
But it was Hill who was eventually arrested in connection to Ellie's death. In September 2023, nearly 1 year after Ellie died, Hill was charged with neglect of a dependent, resulting in death. According to court documents, before Ellie died, Hill made comments comparing her daughter to serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, saying the toddler was, quote, not a nice kid. Investigators also found Hill left for work knowing Ellie was in critical condition. The next footage we have of Hill comes after her arrest, and in the video, she's pretty argumentative.
Morning.
Detective Son,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Cheyenne.
Well, he knows who I am. I was advised not to speak with you without my attorney.
It's up to you.
Why am I here? Why am I speaking with you? Why did you do this to me?
I didn't do it to you.
You did.
No, I didn't.
My attorney.
You don't want to
be
talk to
present.
me, get out.
I did.
If you don't want to talk to me, get out.
This February, a Lawrence County, Indiana jury found Hill guilty of neglect, and in April, she was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Gillespie.